Hello, can you hear me, Prasanna? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Melbourne CocoaHeads March virtual meetup. I am Nabila, and I am the host for tonight, and we are going to start our virtual meetup. So first thing first, I have a bunch of social media links here. So the first one is
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Melbourne CocoaHeads March virtual meetup.
Sorry. Oh, sorry everyone. There was some technical difficulties, but I'll continue again. So I have a bunch of social media links posted here. So first one is our Melbourne CocoaHeads official website, where you can see latest informations and also get invitation to our Slack channel. The second link is our meetup page. If you are looking for featured events, we usually post our feature events in that meetup page, so please keep your eyes on that website. And any discussions will be happening in our meetup channel in our Slack. So if you want to get the invite to our Slack, please head to our MelbourneCocoaHeads.com official website. And lastly, we also have a Melbourne CocoaHeads Twitter account. Please follow if you haven't. And if you want to watch past videos, please visit our YouTube channel as well. Okay, so for tonight, we do have two speakers. The first one is Comforting to Swift Package Manager by Gerald Kim. And after that, we have an Adventure Needs a Map, taking a look at map in SwiftUI by Matt Delps. Again, if you want to get an invite to our Slack, please head to our official website, MelbourneCocoaHeads.com. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to post it on our Meetup channel. I will get back to you after I'm done with the presentations. Other than that, Prasanna is also helping out tonight to answer any inquiries. He should be able to answer your questions in our Meetup channel. Yeah, so a few channels available in our Melbourne CocoaHeads Slack. So first one, a Meetup channel, the one that I just described to you before. And secondly, our volunteers channel, if you're interested to, let's say, helping out organizing a virtual meetup, or even organizing a drinks night, a hack night, please join our volunteers channel and let us know if you are interested. Other than that, if you are someone who's looking for work or you're looking for workers, please join our jobs channel where you can post any job ad, or also if you want to let everyone know that you are looking for work. Last one, if you want to be the speakers for the Futures CocoaHeads meetup like Gerald or Matt, please join our speakers channel and let us know if you want to do presentations or talk. We do have an upcoming event. It's our Melbourne CocoaHeads Drinks Night that is happening this month, Tuesday 23rd at 5:30 p.m. The details of the event has not been finalized yet, so keep an eye on our Melbourne CocoaHeads meetup page for more details closer to the date. It could be an online event or an offline event, depending on the situations with this current global pandemic. Check out other fun stuff too. So other than Melbourne CocoaHeads, we also have CocoaHeads community based in Sydney. You don't have to be a Sydney Siders or a Melbourneian to join Melbourne CocoaHeads or Sydney CocoaHeads. Anyone is welcome to join our virtual meetup, or also Sydney CocoaHeads. So check it out. If you are someone who is interested in Android development or Google Developers Group, we actually have a Google Developers Group in Melbourne. It's Melbourne GDG, and please check out their meetup page as well. That's where they usually post any upcoming events. And another one, lastly, if you're also interested in web development stuff, please visit the web meetup page. Women tech makers are going to celebrate International Women's Day by having an online Zoom event. The theme for this event is named Courage to Create. So if you're interested to attend, please RSVP to Melbourne GDG Meetup page. The event is happening on Wednesday, March 24, which is a day after our drinks night as well. It's starting at 5:30 p.m. There will be presentations and also some visual activity that anyone can participate. And if you do participate in that activity, you can also get some rewards as well. So yeah, definitely check it out if you're interested. And lastly, this event is not restrictive. So any genders can actually join and participate in this event as well. We do have code of conduct in our Melbourne CocoaHeads community. So we are trying our best to make this community as inclusive as possible. We are welcoming anyone with a diverse background, regardless of your sexual orientations, or if you do have a disability. So we really encourage everyone to behave appropriately and also respectfully. I know that tonight we are having a virtual event where anyone can be using an anonymous account and perhaps do something and you think that you can get away with it. But yeah, if you see anyone that behaves in such a way that makes you feel uncomfortable or inappropriate, please reach out to me via DM. And also you can also reach out to Prasanna if you see that sort of behavior, because we do not tolerate that sort of behavior. You can look for more details of our code of conduct in our official website. But you can, other than sending us a DM, you can also send us an email and also send us an anonymous form as well. Link is posted in this keynote. Yeah, so for this month, we have few numbers of people looking for iOS developers. First one is from Panthers. They are looking for a mid-senior iOS developer. And if you are interested, please reach out to Raunak. And I also list all everyone's Slack handle in this keynote. Next one is Coles. Coles is looking for a senior iOS developer. You can contact Alex and also Gerald, who will be doing a presentation for tonight if you have any questions or inquiries regarding the role as well. Third one is by Cognizant. Cognizant is looking for senior and lead iOS and also senior and lead Android developer. You can contact Jordan via Slack DM. And his handle I posted on Keynote. Last one is by Momatu. They are looking for senior iOS developer. And if you are interested, please contact Harsh. And yeah, you can contact him via a Slack DM too. Well, for this one, unfortunately, I do not hear any news for anyone who has shipped any apps. But if you do, and if you'd like to share it, please do so. Share what have you shipped recently in our Meetup channel. Tonight, we would also like to thank our gold sponsor, Itty Bitty Apps, and also silver sponsors, Latitude Financial Service, Aria Group, and Cognizant. Without sponsorships, it's going to be really hard to maintain this long-running regular meetups events. So yeah, let's just begin to our first speaker of the night. Our first presentation is going to be Converting to Swift Package Manager by Gerald Kim, and I'll pass it to you, Gerald.
Hello. Let's see, let me get this set up. Okay, cool. So yes, welcome to my talk. It's going to be on converting to Swift Package Manager. So a little bit about myself. My name is Gerald Kim. I'm currently working as an iOS developer at Kohl's, and you can see the URL for my GitHub page there, where I'm going to be having storing all the sample code that I'll be showing you tonight. And I'm also at Gerald K on CocoaHeads Slack. So let's get started. What is Swift Package Manager? So it is the new official dependency manager system from Apple. And it is not only for Swift, you can use it for Objective-C and other C-based languages as well. Swift Package Manager is actually enabled by Swift Tools. So with Xcode 11, Swift Tools 5.1 has been bundled. And that means that Swift Package Manager is built in. So no more cryptic incantations involving Homebrew and Ruby and command line, RMBN, all that stuff. Super glad I don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. Since Xcode 12, Swift Tools 5.3 has been included in that. And with that, you have the ability to bundle resources. So things like JSON, images, zip files, and a bunch of other ones. The best thing about Swift Package Manager is it's super simple, especially since it's built into Xcode. Oh, so what is inside of a Swift package? So if you're familiar with other package managers like CocoaPods or Carthage, it'll be kind of familiar to you. So package.swift has its counterparts, and package.resolve has its counterparts as well. It's kind of simplified a bit in that you actually don't need things like Xcode proj and all of like a pods folder or anything. A lot of that kind of stuff is actually, it's auto-generated for you and hidden. So the hidden stuff actually, these should go in your git ignore. So the Swift, as you can see from the screenshot here, there's actually not much to Swift package. And the package.swift itself is pretty simple, like fits on one screen. So let's have a little demo on what the Swift package stuff looks like. So I have a sample app here, or package, I should say. I've named it SP Base. This is kind of like a base design system type of thing that I've made. And I've just defined a few colors in it for some like foreground text colors and stuff. You can see there's not much to this package. I have some colors that I'm referencing from inside the package. I have some tests that I'm running and package.swift. So let's have a look at this package.swift real quick. I've defined my platforms. So Swift packages can be used with any of the Apple platforms, macOS, tvOS. I've defined iOS 13 for this one. We can see the library and the name of the targets that I have and the targets I'm defining here. So I have two targets in this package. One is a regular target, one is a test target, and I have the names right there. And yeah, what does this look like in Finder though? So if I look in my documents in my SP base, you can see that I have, all it is just package.swift, readme, and then the same sources and test folders right there. And if I open up hidden files, you can see that it's generated a Swift PM folder. So inside the Swift PM folder, there is actually an XE workspace in there. But again, this is auto-generated for you. And I could just even delete this Swift PM folder. And the next time I would open it up, it would just generate it again. So like since there's no XE proj file in here, do I need to go in this hidden folder and open it? Actually, I can close this, double click on the package.swift, and it treats it just like the Xcode proj. So it's really easy. And even within this, I can run tests, I can build. As you can see, I've done my build, running tests. I think, yeah, it's testing. So it's brought up my simulator, doing the things. Don't know why it's taken so long. Come on, machine. Okay, there we go. Test succeeded. Yes. Cool. So how do we use this package? So I have here yet another package. So this one is building on top of my design system, and I'm having, this is like a UI components kind of package. So I have here defined like a table cell and a UI elements type of class. You can see right here, it's using the colors from my design system. And so within this package, I'm able to import SP base. And how I defined that is in the package.swift. I've added a little bit into this dependencies section. So this is where I define the SP base, and I have the SP base package is up on GitHub. So this is the GitHub URL for the SP base. I'm telling it, hey, go off the main branch. I can define other things like versions and stuff here, but just to make it simple, main branch. And yeah, with that, I'm able to use it, the dependencies, and I'm in my target for SPUI elements. That's where it's defined. So now it's showing up here, and I can even view the source code inside my design system. Yeah, so that's within here. That's how I'm able to use it, and I can just do the text colors and stuff. One thing to note with Swift packages is I have resources here, and I have a nib file. So in my package.swift, I've actually defined that resource as part of my target. So I'm saying process resources. So process is a keyword saying Xcode process everything inside the resources folder. I can also define individual file names here if I want as well. But it's basically said everything inside this resource folder, bundle it with the package. So this will Xcode automatically packages that up for me, and it'll include it along. But the resources are only available within the package. If I want my app to use this table cell, I need to make it a publicly facing property. So I have right here a table cell nib, where I have a UI nib that's defined publicly. One other thing to note is the bundle here. So I've defined an explicit bundle of bundle.module, where you might use bundle.main or bundle of wherever this class, the bundle, grab the bundle for it. For Swift packages, you want to use bundle.module, and I can even kill the bundle here, and that works out. Yeah, and so again, here's the package.resolved. So we're seeing this for the first time because we have a package that's showing up. And this basically just says where this SP base has come from, and this is the commit thingamajiggy that it belongs to. So if I have a new version of SP base that comes up, this package.resolved will update to reflect that. Yes. One other thing to note with the resources is that there are certain types that Xcode is like, yeah, I actually know how to do that automatically. Technically, I didn't have to do this because Xcode is smart enough to know I know what to do with zip files, I know what to do with storyboards, but some of the other files you might want to explicitly define, like text files, string files, JSON files. Yes, so how do we use this in an actual app? So I have here a test app, SP test app. And in here, I have a table view where I want to use the cool, the table cell that I had defined in my UI elements package. So I have here attempting to use it, but let's go ahead and attach a package to this project in real time. Hopefully the demo gods will be kind to me. So there's a couple ways to add Swift packages. So one is I can go into my project here, and in the project, there's a new tab here called Swift packages, and I can go ahead and add, or I can go File, Swift package, Add package dependency. So now in this window, I can add a URL for my package. And at Coles, we use Azure DevOps. So I would post like the SSH URL here. That's how we normally do it at Coles. But for this particular demo, I'm able to use GitHub. So I've attached my GitHub account to Xcode. And now it's showing me all of the repositories that I've either starred or owned myself. And so if I scroll to the bottom, we can see our two packages here, SP base and SPUI elements. So when I click on that, it gives me some info. And now I can have a choice with a version branch or even commit. So I'll just choose main branch, just to make things simple. Now it's downloading my SPUI elements package and attaching the library and all that stuff. Yep, now it's done. Now we can see it show up right there. And it's also included SP base because remember SP base was a dependency of SPUI elements. And we can even see all the source code here of everything in those. Keep in mind, this is read only. I have found issues where I tried to edit a zip file accidentally within the package, and I've gotten Xcode into some kind of endless loop where I had to force quit it. So be very careful not to, like, especially doing these dropdowns, bad idea. So once you can see right here in the Swift packages, so this is where I can remove them as well. So I can hit the minus button if I want to remove that package, but it shows me like, yeah, where it's coming from and the URL. So once I have all that, I can use SPUI elements, import that in, and note that I've done import UI kit as well. One thing with Swift packages is that the imports aren't like brought over automatically. So even though SPUI elements was using UIKit, I don't get that dependency for free. When we migrated our pods in Coles, that was probably the bulk of the work, is going and adding import foundation or import UIKit in classes that kind of assumed it came from a pod. Otherwise, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Again, when I'm grabbing the nib from the package, I'm having to use that public property. And yeah, just the rest of this is just some diffable data source code. So when I go ahead and run this, There we go. So we have 3 table cells in our horrible colors in my design system. Yeah, and so it just all works. So now how easy is it to actually make changes to a package and have it show up in your app? So if we go back into SP base, the colors, let's make our colors something not quite so eye-searing. Oh, that was black. I think what's up on the repos, red. I'll make that blue and we'll see if that shows up. So now in my SP base repo, I have that changed. So now we can see it's gone to blue. I'll go ahead and push that up. Now, when we go back to Xcode in our test app, sometimes it'll do it automatically, but we can do File, Swift Packages, Update to latest package versions. And we can see up here, it's going to be doing, actually, maybe we'll stop running. Let's go ahead and do this again. Yeah, so you can see it's fetching the packages there. And now it's grabbed the latest version. So if we go to SP base in our colors, you can see that blue that's showing up. Now, if I run the app again, ta-da, a slightly different eye-searing color. So yeah, that's how easy it is to update your dependencies. Now, from experience, this can be a double-edged sword. Working in the Coles app, like sometimes someone will accidentally push a breaking change in one of the packages. And if you're not careful with things like versioning, then everybody gets the breaking change, because like basically Xcode, it kind of just does it at regular intervals. And every time that you open Xcode as well, it will grab the latest packages that you've defined. So what I would highly suggest if you're working in a team is take advantage of versioning. If you have a breaking change, then do like go from version 1 to version 2 and set some team protocols around how people do versioning and how they handle breaking changes and such. Cool. So let's see. What about some notes about migrating from another dependency manager? You could make a hybrid CocoaPod Carthage HPM, but if you're using internal dependencies, I would highly suggest going all SPM because it is so simple. And who doesn't like seeing hundreds of lines of code being deleted with all those pod file, the XCproj and everything. And you can use versioning, taking advantage of versioning to gradually roll out to the new world. So your CocoaPods package might be version 1.0, and your new SPM thing might be version 2.0. And by the way, when I'm talking about versioning, that's done through Git tagging. So you just need to tag your commits with the correct version. And I think it's like v1.0.0 is how Swift Package Manager automatically picks that up. When we did it with the Coles internal pods, so we had 6 internal pods. And once I figured out the first 2 pods, the rest of them were pretty straightforward and easy to do. So it's just learning SPM. So hopefully after this talk, you'll have an even easier time than I did. And again, you need to import Foundation UI kits because they're just not brought over from pods like they were previously. In SPM, you have to explicitly define that kind of stuff. Cool. Now, if you absolutely needed to do hybrid packages, so this might be something you should do if you have like an externally facing package, because you need maximum compatibility for all the things. So just some advice on that. Try a dry run with a new Swift package first. Go new. If we go to Xcode, you can do that with File, New, Swift package, and that'll create a new package project for you. Play, come on. All right. Yeah, just import your source files over to the new package project and get it buildable. Once you know that it's all working and everything, you can copy the package.swift file over to the original project. You want to remove the package.swift from any associated targets on the pod XE workspace. I'll explain that in a sec. And then rearrange the folders groups in your pod project to fit the expected structure. So Swift Package Manager expects a certain structure on how all your code and your tests and everything are set up. And again, you want to package your resources correctly. So I might talk about Oh, I seem to have lost. Oh, there we go. Okay. So going back to the project, if we're going back to say this, just the package.swift in your XC proj, you'll see that it'll want here, it'll want to be associated with like your main project or your text targets. You want to remove them from the targets because it's not part of either of those. And then the folder structure that I'm talking about is under the package, you want to have like a sources and a test folder. And inside of those, it's the name of your targets. So the main target is SP base, and then the main target of the test is SP base tests. So you just want to make sure that those folder names match up, and then you should be good. Yeah, and so for the resources, like I was showing before, I had everything in resources folder, and that just made it easy. If you do need to have them scattered around, you just need to add more lines into that just to define, oh, I need this and this and this processed. Cool. So I did a run. I went back and converted one of our internal pods. After I've converted it fully to SPM, I went back and tried to see how can I make this into a hybrid project. So as you can see here in the screenshot, I've changed everything over to the folder structure. So there's tests and sources with the target name inside of them. You can still leave like the pod stuff in there. That's fine. One side effect that I had when I was rearranging everything was my info plist files got moved around. So you can see here in my build settings, I just had to redefine the new location of the info.plist. And this particular package pod thing had a dependency, and that still works. It's still connecting to a dependent CocoaPod, the version 1.0 version of that. And so this same project, when I double click on package.swift, this is what we have. So exact same thing, but this is just via the Swift package thing. So you can see here, I have the package.swift. It's recognized the sources and test folder and gave the cool little icons in them. This one has a dependency on like what was a pod before. This is the 2.0 version of it, which is the Swift package of Rocket Design, as you can see. And the package.swift file, you can see what's inside of it. So it's pretty simple. You can see the dependencies. Sorry, that's an internal URL. And yeah, and right, so before how we had the resources, I put it onto the resources folder. This one, I just have a JSON file that I just needed for the tests. And so I've just said process test config.json. So you can do individual files with that process command as well. Cool. Just some notes about setting up your CI with Swift Package Manager. So of course, add authentication, either SSH or personal access token if you're using Git. We're using Azure DevOps, so we had to do SSH tokens and make sure that that's set up correctly on the CI. Also, one special thing that I found that we had to add was we had to add this Xcode build command to resolve packages before trying to build. So you can see the command there. And this is before you're actually trying to build the project for like unit tests or whatever. Curiously enough, I only had to add it to the unit test pipeline. So the actual build pipeline, it looks like it's recognized the cache and just reuse that. Everything else just worked. So that was kind of nice. This was the only stuff I really had to do with the CI to get it working. And just a little, I've not actually tried this myself, caching Swift packages. So this is kind of fighting against Swift Package Manager. Here's a link to a blog where he kind of explains the process. But the TLDR is you'll need to grab pieces of your derived data folder. And when you're running your Xcode build command, you need to define the directory with clone source packages dir path. So what you probably need to do to get this to work is like have like maybe a pre-commit hook or something, a script that runs to copy the bits from your derived data over to somewhere where this clone source packages directory path is pointing to, and then just make sure the checksums from that match up to the checksums in your package that resolved. So this might become an issue for us if the resolving the packages takes too long. At the moment, it's still like within an acceptable level for the team. But like we are looking to move maybe about like 10, 15 external dependencies over. And so if that ends up blowing out the CI time, then this is something we'll have to look into. Just a few tips. Make your package names simple. So when I first created these demo projects, I named it SP-base, and that just ran into all sorts of issues because it got renamed into SP underscore in certain cases. And then I just had to like throw it all away and just rename, start over from scratch with really simple names. So yes, try to avoid things like hyphens and spaces. If you get errors about like can't find UI kit, be aware that packages are cross-platform. So make sure that your the device that you're building to isn't like Mac or the Apple TV, that it's set to an iOS device. Here's some useful links. So the first one is on gave a lot of good tips on how to do dependencies and resources with the Swift package. The second one is actually resources. The first one is dependencies. And then the two Apple WWC talks, one 2019, one 2020. The first one gave a good intro on Swift packages. And the 2021 is about resources with packages, including how to handle localization with the Swift Package Manager. So yes, we have some, I put up my sample packages on these two links, and I'll put up the sample app as well shortly. So I wanted to give a big shout out to the Coles team for being patient and pairing with me on helping to figure this stuff out. And if you would like to be part of a team that supports you in figuring cool things out like Swift Package Manager, we are hiring. So check out the jobs channel on CocoaHead Slack. Thank you very much, and back to Nabila.
All right, thank you so much for your presentations, Gerald. And now we are moving on to our next presentation by Matt Delps. It's going to be about, I believe it's about drawing a path on maps in Swift UI. So please welcome Matt Delps. I'm passing it to you, Matt.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Nabila. Thanks, Gerald. Awesome talk about SPM. Learned a few things, so that's always good. This evening, I'm going to be having a bit of a chat about map in Swift UI. And the talk is titled An Adventurer Needs a Map, because, hey, everyone needs to know where it is they are going. Before we get started, yep, there we go, next slide. Acknowledgement of country. Our meetup is being run from the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I wish to acknowledge them as the traditional owners of the land. I'd also like to pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and to the Aboriginal elders of other communities who may be here today. Being International Women's Day on Monday, I thought it was appropriate to highlight some famous female women cartographers who have done some amazing things with generating maps over the course of history. There is a link there to where I grabbed all of these names and details from. So first up, the nuns of Ebsdorf, who created a map of Ebsdorf, which is really quite detailed, and that is from 1234. You might think, oh yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's just a placeholder value. No, it's actually 1234. Shana with Newfoundland in Canada, responsible for making some really amazing maps as well. Florence Kelly, who did some detailed maps that showed Chicago's demographic and used it to champion social and economic change. Phyllis Pearsall, who is involved in London's A to Z. Judith Tyner, who's involved in persuasive cartography. Kira B. Shingareva, who is responsible for one of her works is the Atlas of Terrestrial Planets and Their Moons, and is responsible for the mapping of a lot of the dark side of the moon. Regina, who is one of the leading cartographers in tactile mapping. Murray Tharp, who created the first scientific map of the ocean floor. And Mary Spence, whose work has been around the dynamic world. So it's always really good to acknowledge the people that have been there in the past and the work that they have done. So talk today is on Swift UI, and in what was released last year, so 2020 version of Swift UI, we got a native map component, and everyone's initial response was, oh, no, this is horribly limited. Not so. So let's take a look at the landscape first off, and this will give us an idea of the building blocks that we will be using to do some rather interesting stuff with map and with Swift UI. So what we'll be using is map, being the initial map component. Also, map annotation, map marker, or map pin are ways of drawing sort of points of interest on a map. We'll be looking at drag gesture, which will provide a bit of interactivity, and also at path. So first up is map. To get a very an initial map on the screen, it's always good to have a couple of state variables, being a MK map rect, which is the same from the map kit framework. And if you want to draw some annotations on the map, a series of location coordinates as well. So here,
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Thanks, Siri.
Sure thing.
Here we have the map initializer, which is being provided a map rect, and also the annotations. Then for the map marker, it's each of the annotations is being drawn as a map marker there from the location with a blue tint. Map annotation, marker, and pin are the ways to draw those annotations. The one I chose to use is the map marker, being you just provide it with a CL location coordinate 2D, and will place the marker there, tint color being blue in this particular situation. Now, drag gesture is what is being used to actually go, okay, when we've got the map presented and I want to tap or mouse click on the map and drop a pin right there, this is what we're doing. So we're hijacking drag gesture. We're saying minimum distance of 0, which means fire immediately. And we're using it to get the location of that interaction. Drag gesture is one of the gestures that actually gives you that start location, which is one of the things there. And from that, we are doing a bit of math involved to go get us the, given our start location and our references, what's the actual geographical coordinate involved? And here's the math. So as we're dealing with a couple of different frames of reference, we need to do translation from the coordinate space of the actual view to that of the map rect. And then we go from the map rect, how what's our distances involved in X and Y, and create the point there. We're also making sure that the map rect in fact contains the map point. Now, MK map point is a type from MapKit that provides the translation from a 3D geographical reference, being your latitude and your longitude, to the X and Y coordinates that exist on a flat map, which is what we have here. We then have path. Now, path is what allows us to draw our line amongst everything. And here, in order to get the coordinates in a frame of reference we want, we're taking our coordinates, we're getting the location coordinates 2D, and then we're creating a map point from that. To do the actual drawing of the path, we're taking the points and we're filtering out everything that is not visible within the map rect, which is defined by the region there. We're then doing our translation to our sort of rect that is our X and Y, our width and height of the view. And we're creating a series of CG points, and then we're just moving between them as with most line drawings. In order to put this all together, this is what it looks like. So this ends up having a, what I will do is I will switch across to Xcode and show you the code in a bit more detail. Xcode. Sure. Okay, so don't want that one. I want this one, the map route, and I'll just go in big and on it a bit. So here we've got one of the few places where where Geometry Reader is actually quite useful, in that we need to know the bounds of our map, or in this case, our stack that is containing the map. So we've got our map here, which is based on a rect, and then we've got the annotations and the coordinates, and our map route overlay, if we just jump into that, is what's providing us with the path. We're then doing, here we're saying, okay, the coordinate space of everything is just confined to that Z stack, and that's what we're using for stuff like our events and all that. And here we're needing to get the CG rect, which is the overall for this Z stack. And that's what we have here, again, in the same coordinate space. Here is all of the maths that allows us to make everything happen, so that when we tap or click on the map, it will do the appropriate translation and place the point on the screen. And that is all I had to share. It is just a very quick demonstration of how you can use a lot of standard Swift UI components in order to build something quite complex and amazing. Where I'm sort of going to be taking all of this from here is instead of going, okay, I've tapped roughly in a particular point, I will actually then get on the route, as in the path I've been drawing, which I will bring up again here. This particular route is one of my cycling routes. So from that, I will then go, okay, what's the closest recording as far as location and position and all of that, and display it there as well. So I can get some fairly interesting, fairly involved interactions from this. So hope it's all been quite enjoyable and you've learned something, and I hope you are all going to go and build amazing things as well. So thank you very much, and that's the end of my talk.
Okay, thank you so much, Matt. That was really interesting. Actually, I think I would like to rewatch the video again just to see I can read the source code to understand it more. And yeah, so that was actually our last talk for the night. So thank you so much for everyone who attends this meetup. I would like to remind you again, here are our social media links. You can check our meetup page for upcoming events and follow our Twitter, be joining our Slack channel to see our latest informations. Other than that, I would like to make some corrections. So previously I mentioned that CocoaHeads Drinks Night is happening on 23rd of March. Unfortunately, the date is wrong. It's actually happening on 30th of March, but it's also happening on Tuesday. All event details are going to be posted on Meetup page and also our Slack channel too. Yeah. So one of our volunteer, Ed, was considering to restarting our Melbourne CocoaHeads breakfast. So before the before pandemic started, we used to have a monthly breakfast catch-ups sessions. It actually runs on the first Monday of the month at 7:30 a.m. and locations is usually varied, but it'll be around Melbourne CBD. And if you're interested to do that, especially for those of you who started to work from office again, please check our breakfast channel. And yeah, before I end up my presentations, I will post up a Zoom link for our after talks social Zoom session. So yeah, I'll see you in the next meeting. Bye.